Welcome to OmTimes TV, a division of OmTimes Media and Broadcasting. We are living in the fifth dimensional consciousness, where we are creating our reality faster than we can imagine. And 95% of our lives are run and created by our subconscious programming. Imagine how your life will be when that 95% subconscious programming is set to attract, manifest, and create everything you desire. Would you like help to change yours? Join Tamra Oviatt in Living in Fifth Dimensional Consciousness here on OmTimes every week, where she will connect to the source energy and change your subconscious programming by deleting your negative belief systems. Tamra is the founder of Sacred Activations, a subconscious meta-programming process that rewires your brain and shifts hundreds of your belief systems so you can break away from lack, pain, and suffering and take control of what you want to create in your life. Tamra has helped hundreds of thousands of people worldwide, and she is here to help you too. It's not about fighting what you don't want. It's about creating what you do want. And the only way to do that is to change and upgrade your subconscious programming. Let Tamra help you create magic in your world. Join her now for Living in the Fifth Dimensional Consciousness.
Hey, Gary, welcome. Welcome to Living in 5D. I'm really excited to have you on as a guest. Gary Bonnell, he teaches and does private sessions in the Akashic Records. You started in, what was it, 2001?
Doing Akashic Records?
Yeah.
No, probably in 1978.
Wow.
So, yeah,
So,
I'm substantially older than I look.
yeah, you look amazing.
Yeah,
So how did you start in the Akashic Records in 1978? I mean, that's incredible.
well, actually, due to some circumstances in my early childhood, I had a head injury, and as a result, I started going spontaneously out of body, and that was beginning at the age 8. And the injury was a result of being pistol whipped by my stepfather.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, he was just a nasty person. So alcoholic and all that kind of stuff. And I started going out of body, and just as I was about to quit because I wasn't running into anybody over there, I met a midway being. A person who was an Akashic master, basically. So after a period of time, he introduced me to the Akasha. So from that point on, I was going into the Akasha pretty
So
regularly.
you were going out of your body and you're talking to this midway being?
Yes. Yeah, he became.
Why would you call him a midway being? What does that mean?
Well, he literally would be considered not human and not angelic. So he was basically an aspect of the mind of Gaia, as we all are. And the Akasha, the complete field of the Akasha, is the mind of Gaia, the earth spirit. So each human has 2 records. They have a spirit path and a soul path. So he showed me how to connect into the Akashic record, which is the soul path, and the book of life, which is the spirit path. So how to consciously do that at that age was to go out of body. I had not been introduced to meditation or anything yet. So
yeah, I remember going out of body, but I would go out of my body and like cruise around the playground.
Right.
Well, my teacher was teaching. All I heard was wah, 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 you know. And I remember going around the playground and then coming back into my body. But that's absolutely amazing that you started working with somebody in 1978 and going to the Akashics.
Well,
Have
this happened when I was 8. So this was back a long time ago.
Yeah.
I was born in 48, so how I met this midwayer was my younger brother got hit by a car, and I would go out of body to the hospital room, which was quite a distance away from where we lived, and I would work with him. And then one night when I was working with him, this being showed up, and like I said, there was nobody to talk to, nobody to communicate or relate to in the Akasha. So
Right.
this person showed up, it was quite a shock. So
Yeah.
I ended up running away from home at the age of 12. It was either run away from home or kill my stepfather. Those were the choices.
I
And
understand.
yeah, I ended up with my biological father, and then that didn't quite work out, and I went to live with his mother, who was a direct student of Paramahansa Yogananda. So,
Oh, fantastic. So you've been mentored since you were a young child with
yeah,
spirituality awareness.
since 14 years of age.
That's so fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, she saved my life basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, it's been fun. It's been very interesting. I've used the Akashic Records to help guide a company that myself and two other men had created, and we, in 12 years, went from one retail store to 35 of them.
That's
So,
fantastic.
yeah, so it's been a life of knowing how to use it and also knowing how to help others in the process.
Yeah. So that guided you with your business to create 35 stores. And then did you guys sell those stores?
Oh yeah, we did an IPO and then we sold it.
Nice.
Yeah, we did an IPO and raised a lot of cash, and then this guy in New Jersey, a guy named 𝐀𝐜𝐭𝐢𝐯𝐬, decided he wanted a public expression of his company, so it was almost like a forced takeover of our company. So we had a lot of cash reserves, and he came to our board of directors meeting and stockholders meeting and made the stockholders an offer they couldn't refuse. So that's why we
So since then you've been doing the Akashic Records?
Yeah, that was in 1986, and I don't just do the Akashic Records. I have been I went around the world in the 80s looking for enlightened people, wanting to see what that looked like, what the reality of that was. And I had achieved in school, I have an undergraduate and a graduate degree in psychology, and I wanted to see how all of that information fit against Jung and Freud, and I wanted to, because of my connection with Paramahansa Yogananda, I wanted to see how that was playing out. And so I went to India and I went to Europe and I studied with the Cherokee Indians and I did all these things. And so the school that I developed in Tokyo is about mystical study. We have a year-long program. We've graduated a whole bunch of incredible students, and it takes the student through self-knowledge to how to live in a self-realized state of mind, how to live in collective consciousness without being burned out by it. So,
that's a really beautiful point. And I know this takes a year to learn all of this, but is there something you could tell our listeners now that could help them? Because a lot of people are so confused and locked into all these different consciousnesses,
right,
that's not serving them or helping them
yeah.
live their lives. They're living in a lot of fear and overwhelm.
Yeah, I really have had such a wonderful opportunity to meet so many teachers. And like you say, there are so many approaches to this, but there is one basic underlying thing that if people knew this, then their life would, and when I'm saying knew it, if they really integrated this knowledge, it would change their life. And that is that we are threefold beings, humans. We have a physical body that is coded with genetics. We have a spirit that's evolving and has evolved over millions of years. Our spirit has been every form of life on planet Earth, and it elevated to what we think of as the human level. And then we have an eternal soul that is actually a particle of the mind or the consciousness of Creator. So here we have this body and this spirit that's a manifestation of the mind of Gaia, that we live within Gaia's mind, within the Earth Spirit's mind. And then we have this eternal soul that is witnessing Gaia's manifestation, that is the Creator. So if we really understood this, then we would also understand that every word we say is like we're reading off of a menu at a restaurant. Every word we say is a command to manifest. Yeah. And to the degree that we can release our inner conflicts, then our manifestations can happen, quickly. There is very little time between the command and the manifest form. So that changes life. That base concept really can alter a person's unfolding journey.
So by being mindful and realize that you're ordering what's going to happen next, to really write it down and focus on that,
right? Or
just be mindful of it, of what you're saying.
Well, and it's not just us, but it's also knowing that every other human is that as well. It doesn't matter the size of the human, the color of the human. Every human is a threefold being, and knowing that, and that's where your collaborations really begin. We get rid of our prejudice and our bias, and we realize that we are all working together in this collective soup of awareness and consciousness. And it's when we have bias that we really, begin to get out of the state of being a threefold being. And that's hard to do in this political world right now.
Yeah, so wouldn't it be important then, since we are a collective consciousness and we're threefold and we're all in this together, all connect together, then it would be smart for us to focus on peace within that collective consciousness, since everybody's in that energy anyways, and we're all the same and all the same place. So focusing the peace, the love, and the joy and the happiness, then that affects us in our life and the whole collective, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's, the string theory promotes the idea that if you have two quantum and they're identical and they're even separated by the universe, what happens to one automatically happens to the other. So we are all connected, and that's what the knowledge of being threefold is that we are all connected.
Exactly. And like you said, string theory, I love this. This is absolutely perfect. So if you do to one here, it affects the other one here. And it doesn't matter how far apart it is.
Right.
See, that's how I think all of us are together, and whatever each individual is thinking is affecting the whole.
Right.
So, and then also we're running off of a lot of what the collective is thinking. So we're acting out what somebody over there is doing too, or we can, if we plug into that or allow that part within us and our collective, because it just goes in, but you've got to be aware that it's coming in, and you go, wait a minute, I want to think this way instead.
Right. Well, the hardest thing for most people, they think of spirituality as something other than their every moment existence, when they realize that everything is spiritual. Everything. It doesn't take dogma or doctrine. Everything is spiritual. And when your person really hits that, they begin to also understand that enlightenment, while enlightenment doesn't make you immune to life, it certainly allows you to see life.
Yeah. And can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Okay. The enlightened state. So our souls are a particle from the mind of Creator, and our body and our spirit are manifestations of Gaia's mind. Everything is mind. When you become enlightened, everything is a manifestation of your mind. Even the people you associate with, you have a consensual reality that we subconsciously agree to. We subconsciously see steps leading down, all of us do, and we share gravity, and we share certain laws of physics. And the reality is, everything is your mind.
So what you're saying is we're creating everything, kind of like being in a holodeck and creating all the characters around us.
Everything is mind. Everything you encounter, the surface of your desk, the walls, the windows, the people in your life are manifestations of your mind, as you are manifestations of their mind. So we connect through that consensual agreement at a subconscious level.
Okay. Yeah, and I know a lot of things happen on a subconscious level before they show up in our reality, or even a lot of agreements and things are planned out.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the interesting thing is, when you're born, your existence is totally reliant on these gods and goddesses that are in your life. They supply you with your comfort, your food, and all they request from you is that you please them, that you learn right from wrong, that you take on their ideology and their notion of life. And at some point, you then leave that comfort and that nourishment to find yourself, but that training stays with you.
Yeah.
And so, I've spoken about this. I've worked with corporations since the early 90s on this particular subject, and that is giving up the need to be right. And when you can give up the need to be right, then your brain chemistry evens out. When we're right, then we get flooded with serotonin and dopamine and all the wonderful endorphins, and we feel oxytocin.
You're all bloated up. Yeah, I was right.
And we get addicted to it.
Yeah.
We are literally addicted to those chemicals. And I've said that you can be addicted to the need to be right about how wrong you are. So then you look at people with low self-esteem and how they manage to get those same chemicals in their brain. It's finding evidence that they're not worthy. So we've got all of this going on, and we begin to understand that life is not ordered like this, that we order it because that's how we've been trained.
Yeah.
From 0 to 7,
What I really loved what you said. You said these goddesses and these, and these princesses, or I don't remember what you called them.
Gods and goddesses,
gods and goddesses that gave you nourishment and told you have to think this way. That's really true. I never even thought of it that way. I mean, because of you as a child and totally dependent on them, you do make them gods and goddesses, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. They're it. They're the law.
They're the law. And if it comes with a lot of abuse and or a lot of joy, you're still receiving and learning all of that from them, or a little bit of both.
I it was so interesting early on, and because of my background in psychology, when I do Akashic readings for people, there's always that piece of it that's with me. So unfortunately, I inject some of that. I had a client who was a very well-known football player, a defensive linebacker. And he came for some sessions, and in one of the sessions, he started weeping just uncontrollably. And I let him go ahead and finish that process. And then I asked if he wanted to share any of that. And he said, you know, I have felt so much guilt all my life. I have a brother, a younger brother, and I'm the sports figure. My father loves sports, and I'm the guy in the family. So when we would sit down for dinner, I would get a steak and he would get spaghetti.
Oh,
Because it was thought that I needed the steak to build my, body so that I could be a football player. And he had carried that with him for so long, and it controlled so much of what his choices and what he would do in life. And it's something that simple that can have such a profound effect. So it's not just our gods and goddesses when we're young, it's our siblings and how we relate in that familial setting. And
I want to go back to what you were saying earlier, if that's okay.
Sure.
You used to out of body travel and go visit your brother in the hospital and work on him.
Right.
How long did you do that for? How long was he in there?
He was in there for 2 months. He was in a coma for 2 months. They didn't think he would live. He was, the car that hit him had been speeding out of town. We lived in West Melbourne, and the highway in West Melbourne was, either side of it was littered with bars. And so people would come to that area and drink like crazy. And we were running across the street to get cardboard boxes to build a fort. And he was hit, and the car was going really fast. And so it broke ribs, it broke everything. I mean, he was in a mess. And they totally expected him not to live. But I also would hear a voice. When I would go out of body, I would hear a female voice that would give me instruction. And so I would do what the voice said. And this midwayer, this Akashic master, I called him Eli, that was his name, Eli. And Eli showed up at the hospital, and he helped me fine tune my ability to project energy while I was in my astral body. And he also instructed me on how to substantially influence physical matter. And that's how I found out where my biological father was. And I took him a note. I wrote a note.
The astral energy?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. This is really cool.
I like I said earlier, it was either leave home or kill my stepfather. And I actually came extremely close to it. He was a carpenter. And one day on the job site, I used to have to go to job sites with him and clean up the tools and the pieces of wood. And one day he had been drinking, and he took out his belt, the sound of the belt coming out of his pants, to beat me. And I said, "You're not going to do it." And I literally almost killed him with a 2x4. And it was after that that I decided that I really needed to leave. So I wrote a note, and I took the note to my father. I found where he was, and I put it on his desk, and made that connection, and then hitchhiked across from Florida to California to be with him.
And that was at 14?
No, that was at 12.
I'm so impressed with you right now.
Well, no. no need to be. There are kids who've left home at 10. I mean,
I left home at 15 and never returned.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well,
I mean, 12 and to hitchhike from Florida to California, that's wow.
I almost stayed
Wow.
in New Orleans. There was a lady who picked me
I
up
see why.
on the side of the road. And she was the proprietor of Nikki's China Doll on Iberville Street. So for a couple of days, I got to have a shower and rest there. But I don't even know if I've told my wife that story. Yeah,
That's funny.
Yeah, but my father and I didn't get along. My dad has a photographic, or had a photographic memory. He got through Stanford with that, magna cum laude, that kind of thing. And I have an eidetic memory, but a photographic memory is very different. And when you're around somebody with a photographic memory, it's very difficult to relate, because they can just glance at something and have it memorized. And so my father and I didn't get along, and I went to live with his mother, Rowena, who was a student of Paramahansa Yogananda. So,
And where was she at? Was she also in California?
yeah, she was in the little town of Los Gatos. And I had actually been born there. My parents married and I was born there. And then my mother, when they divorced, went to Florida to be with her biological family. And my father stayed with his new family in California, of course. So, yeah, a lot of adventures.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where I totally wanted to be in music. We lived in the hills of Los Gatos going towards Santa Cruz, and on one side was Yehudi Mendoin, and on the other side was Segovia. So these are brilliant musicians. Yehudi Mendoin is a violinist, Segovia a guitarist. So I started studying guitar. And
so you started going and practicing with him? Did you have a
no,
relationship?
just knew of them, but no relationship at all. But was inspired because if the wind blew from his house, you could hear it. And it just, so I got into some garage bands in the 60s and ended up meeting some really high profile people. I met Johnny Cash, and Johnny Cash became a friend, and June Carter Cash. And then over the years, Johnny introduced me to a lot of people. And
nice.
So I had clients in the industry, and that expanded it out, to include a lot of people. So
yeah. So Akashic Records.
Yeah.
So Akashic Records, you tell me about the future and stuff. We were talking about before the call, 2027, and I liked what you're sharing with me. Do you want to share that?
Well, it's okay. Lately, there's been a lot of stuff in the news about UFOs and in Japan, USOs, because there are a lot of underwater bases kind of thing. And we have had off-world beings on this planet since we were bioengineered. So the beings that bioengineered us are thought-based beings. We can think of them as eternal. And these thought-based beings, with all of this exposure and revelation now in the media and everything, we're getting prepared for their reveal. They are going to reveal themselves and explain who they've been and why they've been and what has brought us now to this state. And what happened back a very long time ago when we were being engineered out of twofold. We were a body and a spirit, and the Gaia's vision was a threefold being that could become eternal. So these off-world beings, they placed little knots in our DNA, And when an individual hits a certain harmonic, or when the collective consciousness hits a certain harmonic, those knots are released and a mutation takes place. So recently, one of those knots began to release. And that knot is to take humans to a non-gender type of being. And all of these off-world beings are non-gender. They can reproduce at will. They can decide they want to reproduce and they reproduce. Now, we have that in our, in nature anyway, in our world, but of course, it hasn't been with humans. So that knot has released, and it's created. I saw a study that was done at the beginning of the 1900s. There was a group of academics that wanted to understand the effect of the modern world on human consciousness. So every 10 years, they would take a survey. And one of the questions on the survey was, how do you identify with your gender?
Okay, hold that.
Yeah.
Hold that right there. I'm really sorry. We've got to take a break. And this is the
Okay.
perfect thrilling moment. So everybody comes back because we want to hear this. This is getting really, really good. You guys will be right back. We've got to take a break.
OmTimes TV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. OmTimes Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, OmTimes offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an OmTimes magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on OmTimes TV and broadcasting it across the extensive OmTimes radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. OmTimes. Open yourself to the possibilities. Do you want to go deeper into sacred activations, which is a subconscious meta-programming process? Tamra Oviatt is inviting you to visit her website at tamraoviatt.com to sign up and get lifetime access to free 7 activations that you can listen to anytime you want or as often as you need. If you like what Tamra does and like to incorporate sacred activations into your life, she also offers live webinars, masterclasses, and practitioners training to further support your healing, manifestations, and expansion. There are hundreds of activations on her website that address different aspects of your life: money, health, relationships, intuitive abilities, and more. Head over to her website at tamraoviatt.com and experience the magic of sacred activations. Thank you for listening.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm with Gary Bonnell here, and we are talking about non-gender becoming human on this planet, and also a knot in your DNA. So please continue.
Well, when you think about Earth's reproductive system, it's pretty inefficient. You have to have a male and a female for the most part. And there are a few species that don't require that. But if we're to leave Earth, if we're to go into another reality even, we can't have that reproductive system. That won't work. especially if we're traveling long distances to another, planet. What happens if one of the sides of all perish in the process and you're left with one gender? So that harmonic knot is taking us to non-gender. So in this study they did in the early 1900s, they asked the question, do you identify with your gender? And 0.08% of the people questioned their gender. And now they just took it in the year 2000, or 2020 rather, and 48% of the people don't identify. Now, the problem is that the collective consciousness really gets weird around homosexuality or gender fluid or any of these other choices. Our modern world seems to think this is of course evil and sinful, but it's in response to this knot unraveling. And there's another knot that's going to unravel.
So what's the other knot that's going to unravel?
Well, and there's no way to know exactly when this happens. It has happened to some people because they've reached that harmonic individually. But collectively, the next knot is that our bodies will not be gravity-based. They won't, the physiology of our body will be thought-based. So the energy centers, the chakras in our body, will become the organs. And they will be the thing that motivates and keeps the body alive.
Well, yeah, they do that now though, don't they?
Yeah, well, to a certain degree, but in the 10-year, the shift point from the old cycle to the new cycle was between the years 2001 and 2011. That shift point, before that, we were in a 13,000-year duality cycle, and now we've entered into a 13,000-year unity cycle. So unity is what's happening to us now. The problem is we have carried so much inner conflict and unresolved energy, incarnation after incarnation, throughout that duality cycle, that as we enter into this unity cycle, all of that has to get purged.
Yeah. And isn't that what we're doing now on the planet?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're purging.
Totally agree.
Yeah. And have been for the last 100 years, we've been purging, but now it's really taken, a turn. But the next one is we will be thought-based, like the off-world beings who have bioengineered us.
Right. So we won't even be physical in a body anymore, is what you're saying.
No, we will have a physical body, but we can, but our thoughts then, like I said earlier, everything is mind. So, so in that state, then not only are we manifesting our reality, but we are now literally a piece of our reality, where we are interconnected to every thought, and it's like we are not living in a progression of time, and we would live within 11 dimensions of space.
Yeah.
And in Gaia's mind, there are 6 adjacencies.
What do you mean by that?
They're realities that exist alongside our reality.
Okay.
And they are just as real as our reality. There are portals on the planet that thought-based humans can go through those portals into those other adjacencies.
Yeah, I do that sometimes.
Yeah, so basically this is where it's all going. We are going to be like those beings who bioengineered us to threefold. Then we will become extra dimensional, not just multidimensional.
So what do you mean by that?
Well, we'll be able to play wherever we want to play in creation.
And be able to show up, like
Yes.
even take our body with us, astral travel and take our body with us.
Right. Your physical body won't then be determined by physics.
Right.
Right. So
You'll be able to, you know, put your thought, say I'm here and I put my thought into China, and
Mhm.
then my body disappears here and shows up in China within a minute or two.
Well, and there are
instance.
examples of illumination, and that's basically what it is. You become illuminated. And like when we think of Buddha, many people witnessed Buddha on one side of the Ganges, and then in a flash was on the other side of the Ganges.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
that, yeah.
They talked about this in the book Masters of the Far East.
Right.
Yeah, how people would just manifest in a whole nother country, and these
Right.
guys were documenting everything.
Sure. Yeah,
I want to do that. I mean, I can astral travel and be someplace, but I can't been able to physically show up there yet, and I want to do that.
Well, yeah, I would like that process as well. And my wife loves to travel, so I would like to have her do that as well with me.
And then she can go on the plane and you just join her there.
And you never lose your luggage, and you know,
Yeah,
it's
you don't have to worry.
quite a different existence. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I know that's possible.
Yeah. And what we're talking about seems really far out for most people.
Right.
You know, and this is far out stuff. And the fact that it's happening, and it's happening at this particular time, is not a coincidence. And there's a
Right.
very real reason why it's happening. So we have gone through repeating cycles, 13,000 years of duality, 13,000 years of unity, and we keep going, alternating. And we've done this. Threefold beings are affected because of the soul consciousness. So what's happening this time is different. Eternal souls in the middle of this cycle, eternal souls that have been incarnated with humans, are going to leave. They're not going to be on Earth anymore. They're going to another system. And as they leave, they're going to elevate human spirits to soul level. So after they leave, humans on Earth will be a human body, a human spirit, and a human soul. They will be completely of Earth. And that's going to be an amazing time for Gaia, because her manifestation, her vision will have been complete.
So, but you say when these beings leave the planet, this is going to happen. Isn't it happening now with them here?
Well, again, it's individually. You can shift your harmonic to the point where you can become thought-based.
Right.
Those beings, those off-world beings, are different than our eternal souls. They are beings from another system. Our
Right.
eternal souls are like particles from within the mind of our creator. So creator is going to go look at another system, basically. So all of those eternal souls that were capable of collaborating with spirits, bodies and spirits, they are going to another system. And when they leave, as they leave, they will ascend, literally ascend human spirits to the soul level. So humans will still be threefold even when they're gone.
Okay. I'm a little lost.
So the aliens that are here, and there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
The aliens that are here, when they start announcing, it'll be the thought-based off-worlders that announce first, and there's a reason. A thought-based being cannot be destroyed.
Right.
And humanity has a propensity for destroying things that doesn't look like it or doesn't act like it.
Yeah.
So we get that all the time. We see that the results of that all the time. So these beings, that thought-based beings, are going to be the ones that say, see, we aren't trying to harm you. We are witnessing you. If we've been here millions of years, if we wanted to harm you, you wouldn't be here now.
Right.
Yeah. So people will try to destroy them, and they'll find out that they can't. So that's going to be a huge shift for collective consciousness, a major shift, that they
Okay.
can't destroy something they don't like.
Okay.
That's going to be big. And
Yeah.
now here's the bad news. My new book is about this. My editor and my translator are having a real interesting time with it. Humanity goes back millions of years in our solar system. We've been on,
Right.
this is the third planet we've been on. And the history of that is very interesting. And the reason why those worlds don't exist now is because of the sun and how the sun behaves. And every once in a while, the sun releases a huge charge of energy that's like a static electric charge. It's like when you rub your feet on the carpet and then touch something. Well, that goes out through the solar system, and then depending on where the planets are aligned, the planets get hit with this. Earth got hit by a glancing blow. Mars took a direct hit. So geologists like to think that the Grand Canyon was created by the Colorado River. Well, the Colorado River flows through it, but the Grand Canyon is the scar from that glancing blow. If you look at Mars, there's an identical scar on Mars, but it's the length from Los Angeles to New York, the Grand Canyon would be. So what happened was one of the planets there was a moon-sized planet or a planet-sized moon orbiting Jupiter, and that was destroyed, and that's the asteroid field. And at the same time, Mars, the atmosphere of Mars was destroyed. Earth has some effect of that. As the ice caps melt and everything, we'll see plant and animal life that suddenly got frozen. And that's when the percussion of those explosions took the atmosphere down to the upper atmosphere. It was on the surface of the planet, which created a problem. So in the future, around 2057, is when we probably will have the next glancing blow.
Okay. So then we'll move to other planets then, like we've done 3 times before?
No, it'll reset life on Earth, but not destroy all life. It'll just be a reset. And the Earth will wobble, and the core of the Earth will be affected like it was the last time. And human population, at one point, the human population had dropped down to around 30,000 individuals. And they lived underground. And we are now finding those underground places, like in Turkey and in the Ural Mountains, these huge underground cities where they survive.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of underground cities with people living in it.
Yeah, in China, there's quite a lot of them, actually. And so I got sunlight. Oh, there, that's better. So basically, our planet can beautifully support around 2 billion humans. Last week, we crossed the line of 8 billion.
Right.
Human population is going to drop dramatically between now and 2057.
Okay.
And the aliens are announcing in 2027, they're announcing as a way to help humanity through that process of what to do in the future about what's about to happen. There's no way they can alter the sun's actions. So, you know, they've tried a couple of times, actually. There's a video of one of their large ships that was drawing energy from the sun so that they could try to find a way to orchestrate the sun's behavior. Now, when we had a glancing blow to Earth, the Earth had 2 moons in orbit. It had a large moon that was about 2/3 the size of the current moon, and it had a smaller moon, and they were in elliptical orbits. And when that percussion wave hit, it crashed the smaller moon into the larger moon, and they both left. The larger moon is a moon right now around Neptune, and the smaller moon was basically destroyed and is part of the asteroid field. Our moon is artificial.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Well, it's an observation platform.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Okay, it was put in orbit around Jupiter to observe human development on Maldek, the planet that was destroyed, and Mars. So humanity was being developed on both those planets simultaneously. And when that strike hit, when the sun strike hit, our moon was on the other side of Jupiter and wasn't damaged by that strike. And to stabilize Earth so it could have human life, they took the moon from Jupiter and parked it in a perfect orbit around the Earth.
That's super interesting.
So I know that sounds so weird.
And you have it coming out in your new book.
Yeah.
What's the name of the book?
It's called Revelation, and it's the story about 12 days of light. It's the story about how when a person begins the process of transformation, that they go through a 12-day period, and it's about that. It's about the history of humanity in our solar system, and it's about what's about to occur. So now, Baba Vanga, who was this wonderful prophet, she was a child who went blind and then was able to really connect to the Akasha, and she predicted quite a number of things. Baba Vanga read the Akasha, and her reading of it was in 2027 that an alien race would come to the Earth, but they would bring an asteroid and hit the Earth to get rid of humanity, and then they would take over the planet. That was how she interpreted the information. So that's not what's going to happen. But
So, and then your interpretation of this is?
My interpretation is the aliens or off-world beings will announce their position. They'll say, we've been here all this time. They'll even talk about the historical figures that they have been to help guide humanity. And that gets to be very interesting. And they will help prepare humanity for this sun activity that's coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, it could look like, I mean, we've gotten very close to being hit a couple of times by asteroids, but there's no alien army bringing an asteroid. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, where I live in the Yucatan, Mexico, it's been hit by an asteroid.
Sure.
And that created all of these underground cenotes.
Right.
So we have all of these caves full of water that interconnect.
Right.
There's hundreds or probably even thousands of them in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live on top of all this. It's really an amazing energy.
Yeah, I've never been to the Yucatan. Chichen Itza has always interested me.
It's nice. I'm about 2 hours from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I lived in the Caribbean. I lived on St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and yeah, the world is an amazing place, and
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
The .online.
Okay, so the 𝐻𝐿𝐭𝐢𝐯𝐷.online.
Right.
And do you still do personal readings? Do you teach Akashic Records? I
Yeah.
know you said you have a mystic study group in Tokyo that
Yeah,
lasts a year.
I've been working in Tokyo for over 30 years, and I have a wonderful team there, and they take people through that process, and I visit Zoom now. I Zoom in. So yeah, it's I still do it. I still work with people. On my website, the knowingway.online, there is a schedule. You can, if you want to have an appointment or a session, then you can do half hour or an hour.
All right, perfect. Gary,
Yeah.
thank you so much. You gave us a
Oh.
lot to think about. I wish we had more time. I mean, there's so many subjects we went over that
Right.
I would like to go into deeper. And
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for being here. You're absolutely amazing.
So thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye. Hi, everybody. What a cool call, huh? Gary, yay. So check out his website. I promised to do some activations at the end of each call, and Leonard gave Rena, hi Rena, and Playa del Carmen. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. What am I going to do? We're talking about the Akashic Records. You know what I want to do? Fear of the future. Let's clear out our fear of the future or any overwhelm or anything we feel like about a Death Star. And somebody else wanted some grounding techniques, so I will also help bring you into Mother Earth, and you can connect and ground. Sorry, I closed my screen accidentally trying to scroll down here. So go into your heart and think about fear of the future. I connect with source energy when I run this energy. So fear of the future and overwhelm. Energy of the Death Star, that fear. Also, I want you to imagine that you go to Mother Earth. And connect into Mother Earth's heart chakra. Just taking a nice big deep breath. Bringing your energy into Mother Earth, taking in a nice big deep breath. Feeling calm and relaxed. Peace, joy, happiness. I want to thank you, everybody, for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Sending you lots and lots of love. If you don't know who I am, make sure you check out my website, download some free activations. We are here to help you shift into your power and be present in this moment. Thank you.